Okay, I think we are ready to get started. Thank you for attending the NetBeez version 14 and 14.1 webinar today. All right, so meet our presenters, myself and Carrie. Hi, Carrie.
Hi,
Will
everyone.
be presenting today and giving you some live demos of our most recent two releases, 14 and 14.1. As I just said, that's what we'll be presenting on. Carrie's going to go over all of the new features that were released, give you a glimpse into the dashboard and how you can use them. And then we will follow up with a Q&A after the webinar. And again, please feel free to use either the Q&A button or the chat function for any questions that you have, and we will answer all questions at the end. So over to you, Carrie.
Thank you so much. Excited to be doing this webinar today and excited to talk about everything the dev team has been working on for the last two releases. So first, to start with, version 14.0 came out maybe a month ago, and we had some really cool features in that: monitoring conditions and also Wi-Fi 6, WPA3. We did a Wi-Fi 6 webinar, so we're not going to really be talking about that today. If you are interested, then we urge you to go watch that webinar, and maybe Jess can drop the link in the chat at some point. But today we're going to focus on the other features. So monitoring conditions for version 14.0 and version 14.1 is coming out soon, maybe towards the end of this week or early next week. We're working it very hard to wrap it up, put some finishing touches on it, and get it out to all of you. And with the 14.1 release, we have scheduled test alerts, and we also have scheduled test execution mode as well that we're going to be talking about and demoing today. And with that, let's first talk about monitoring conditions. So this all came about as the need was there as remote working and hybrid working is becoming more and more of a prominent thing that's out there. We saw in our customers, you all have requested this feature that sometimes remote workers, if you're monitoring a remote worker, you could be looking at their metrics and their data, and it looks great, and then it looks bad, and then it looks great. And it's tough to kind of put it into context as to what's going on. And the reason being, they could be working from home, they could be working from in the office, they could be working from a coffee shop. So you kind of don't get a clear picture if you just look at all the data combined. And that's where monitoring conditions can really help out. You can choose to only run tests based on certain conditions if the conditions are met. And this is for targets, so running ping, HTTP, DNS, traceroute, and also for the scheduled tests as well, you can run monitoring conditions, VoIP, iPerf, and network speed as well. And the conditions, you could monitor what SSID the laptop is connected to, if the VPN is up or down, what ping host or DNS resolution, or even what interface, Wi-Fi, or wireless or wired interfaces as well. And the main benefits with this is it supports hybrid workers. You can now really have a very good control about how you're monitoring the remote worker agents. As I mentioned before, it puts things in context. So it's contextualized monitoring and data. So it's a really cool thing that we released in our 14.0. And I'm going to demo that for you now, just so you can get an idea of how it works. So first, an admin user will need to log into the NetBeez dashboard and click on the settings cog up in the right-hand corner, and then click on monitoring conditions. From here, this is where you create the monitoring conditions. You can go up to the right-hand corner, create monitoring condition. And from here, we're able to create the condition. So I'm going to call this one VPN is down. I'll put my name just so I know that I made this one. And then we're going to set, so here's the different conditions that I was talking about. So DNS, you can choose the DNS here. And you can also choose VPN up or down. SSID, you can actually specify what SSID it is. And then the ping host, you can put it in here. And then also the interface as well, you can specify. With this, you can add up to 4 different rules, 4 different conditions. And so if I wanted to do maybe VPN is up, and then another condition is SSID is carries internet. And then I can also use these conditions as well. So it could be an and or an or. So VPN is up and the SSID is carries internet, or VPN is up or the SSID is carries internet. Can also negate it with a not sentence as well. The human readable is very helpful in that scenario. But for this demo, we're just going to do is VPN down. We want to run the test. So VPN is down, and then we're going to save it here. And so now an admin user or a read-write user is able to add these to a scheduled test. And where you would add it in the scheduled test is when you edit a scheduled test, you're on the scheduled test wizard. You can add it here. But for this demo, I'm going to add it to a target. So here's Carrie's target, Carrie's Google target. I'm going to add the condition, the VPN. Oh, I put not is. So let's just do is the VPN up. So if the VPN is up, then we are going to run this test. So let's just go to, so the VPN is currently up. So the test should be running. So as we can see, new data is coming into the test. I am going to bring the VPN down. And because we have the monitoring condition set, the VPN system condition, VPN is up, we are going to not see any more data come into this test. I'm going to disconnect it and give it a second. And now, as you can see, no data is coming through. The test isn't running. And then I'll bring the VPN back up just to drive it home. And so now with VPN is coming back up, the data is now going to be coming back into this test. So there we are. There's the data, very powerful monitoring conditions. And from there, we are going to move on to our next feature, which is in the 14.1 release, the scheduled test alerts. So this has been a feature that has been requested numerous times, so we're really happy to bring it to everyone. With this, scheduled test alerts came from the necessity of being alerted for iPerf VoIP and network speed tests. Right now, currently, we have ping, DNS, traceroute, and HTTP alerting when specific conditions are met. This takes it one step further. So now in real time, you're able to be proactive about when the iPerf network speed and VoIP tests are reaching conditions not to your liking. And how you'll be notified would be SMTP, so you can get an email, syslog, MS Teams, and Slack is all supported for these scheduled test alerts. And the different alerting profiles, air conditions, how many tests have errors out of the past so many tests, and then also performance. So we have critical alerting, and we also have performance-based alerting as well with baseline and watermark as well. With that, I'm going to jump into the demo. So we're going to go back to the dashboard. And for this first part, it would need to be an admin NetBeez user. We need to log into the dashboard and click on the settings cog. And then we would go to anomaly detection. And this looks familiar because this is where you would create your ping, HTTP, DNS, and traceroute alert profiles. But now we can add an alert, and you can see that we have added a scheduled test section. And the first one we're going to click on is the scheduled test error. And this is when one or blank result out of the last blank runs was an error. And then you can have it be an iPerf, a network speed, or a VoIP. Whatever you select here, when you go to that scheduled test wizard, you'll be able to add these. And that's the scheduled test error. That's more like the critical alerting. If you wanted to maybe do a performance alert, you can do a performance baseline where you would take a short-term window and a long-term window number of runs. And let's just do, so a network speed download mean, so like the average over the last one run is greater than blank times the mean over the last 2 runs. So, so this is a very good and powerful baseline alert profile, but you can also do the watermark as well. So with this, it could be like an iPerf bandwidth mean over the last X number of runs is greater than, and then you can actually put like a specific amount, like megabytes per second, or if you wanted to do maybe like latency, you could do milliseconds. And so you would actually fill in, if you have the exact number in mind, you could put that into the watermark test. So with this demo, I wanted to create a network speed, download alert profile. And since I do want it to trigger, I'm going to put less than, let's just say 10,000 megabytes per second and over the last one run. So essentially what this is saying is the next time, since I'm doing one run, the next time I run a speed test with this alert profile, it's going to be below 10,000 megabytes per second. So this alert's going to be triggered. We're going to see it on the network speed details page. And we're also going to set up our SMTP to send us an email as well. So I'm going to call this. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you can also do and or, so you can add additional rules. So if I wanted to really cover the gamut for the network speed, I could cover the download, upload, and latency. And since and is selected, if all of these rules were, if these conditions were met, I would get an alert. If I did or, only one of these rules would need to be met in order to get an alert. So I am only going to do just for the sake of this demo, just a download with the mean over the last one run to be less than 10,000 megabytes. So we know this is going to fire, this is going to trigger. So I'm just going to say failed network speed. And I'm going to put my name just so we remember it. And so from here, we got to do a couple more things. We need to go and make sure however we want to be alerted is set up. So our SMTP is set up. We just now need to go into the notification settings and make sure that we have the SMTP toggled on, scheduled test alerts to be toggled on as well, and then my email in there as well. So we would make sure this is all set up. We'd click save. And now it's time to add it to that speed test. So here we have Carrie's network speed, and we have my agent that's running on this laptop chosen. And then we are going to select the alert profile failed network speed, the one we just created, and then we're going to save the changes. So now we want the test to run, so this alert is triggered. So let's click the Run Now button to do kind of like in real time, run the test whenever we want, because right now the test is scheduled to run every hour. But since this is a demo, we want it to run for you so you can see what it looks like. So we're going to let this run. And of course, it takes maybe, I don't know, a little less than 60 seconds for the network speed test to run. We're going to log on to my email and check to make sure that the alert was received. And then we're also going to see the alert here on the network speed details page as well. So let's jump over to my email and let's refresh it. Here we are. It just was received, and here's what it looks like. So Carrie's network speed. It was an NDT test, and the source was my remote worker that's on this laptop. And it was a performance-based alert because it wasn't a critical alert. There wasn't an error. Our conditions were met. So the actual download speed was 227 megabytes per second. So since it was one run, the average of that was 227. 227 divided by 1 is 227. And that's less than 10,000 megabytes per second. So this is what it looks like if you have an SMTP alert set up. This is the email you would receive to be notified in real time that something's going on with one of your scheduled tests. And let's jump back over to the dashboard. Here is what it looks like. Let's just go into my network speed test, and here is what it looks like. So you can see the results portion, because remember, you can have multiple agents that are attached to a speed test. So the results portion is an aggregated view. So in this tooltip, you see agents with warning is 1. So that's my speed test. And here's where it is. So you can see that when you hover over the alert, you can see the message as to why it's being alerted, what conditions were met. And then also in the history as well, you can hover over the different graph points, and inside the tooltip is the message as well. These alerts, like the other alerts, also can be seen on the alerts tab. So it's going to do a refresh of the alerts tab here, and we see the alert with all the other alerts. So it says network speed, and then for my agent, the destination is an NDT test, and this is the message as to what condition was met. So I know there was a lot to that one, but this is such an exciting and powerful feature. Next, we're going to then move on to, so this was the scheduled test alerts. The scheduled tests execution mode is a really cool thing that we just implemented. So this is going to be for any many-to-one scheduled tests. And so take a many-to-one iPerf test to an iPerf server, or if you have several agents that are connected to a network speed scheduled test, those would fall under this as well. And so what this is really, and where the necessity from this one came, is if you have 100 agents in one location that are running a speed test at the same time, it could be a lot on your network. So if you're running a network speed test or an iPerf test at the same time, could be in a parallel way, could be a lot. So what we could do are additional options. We can do serialized, so you can set them to just when one finishes, the next one runs, or randomized, and actually set a time window. So you can set like a 30-minute or a 1 or 2 hour time window, where at some point in that time window, all those 100 agents would run at just a random time. So these execution modes, it avoids oversubscription of the resources on the network, and it kind of eases just the pulling your network down and weighing your network down. So this is a really cool thing that we implemented for the 14.1. And then for 14.1, we have implemented the support for IPv6. So we can accept FQDNs or IPv6 addresses when you're running ad hoc tests or you're running ping tests as well. And as the world moves more towards an IPv6 world and a dual stack world, we wanted you to be able to support IPv6. And how this will work: if you enter in an IPv6 address, we will check the force IPv6 box for you and disable it. Or if you enter in an IPv4 address, we'll uncheck the force IPv6 box and we'll disable it so you can't change it. And then for any FQDNs, or if you're going to run a test on your local gateway, we'll leave the option up to you if you wanted to check the force IPv6 box. So, and with that is all the cool features that we have for you for these, for the last release, and then for this release that is upcoming. And I'm going to turn it over to Jess, but before I do, I just wanted to say thank you to all the customers and everyone that just gives us all these feature requests, because we're listening and we just love building what you're looking for. So with that, I'll